Hi everyone, my name is Joanna, and today I wanted to do a video on the term synchronicity. It's a pretty complicated concept to understand. It kind of really defies all that we know about the rules of life and how things are and sort of our expectations of how the world works. But synchronicity was originally termed by Carl Jung. He used it to sort of address consciousness and the paranormal. And what he meant by the term synchronicity was that there's a meaningful coincidence between two things. So there wasn't really a direct cause and effect. An example of that, which probably most people have experienced on some level, is like perhaps you're thinking of something or someone and it just literally manifests in front of you. So maybe you're thinking of a friend or a family member or a significant other, and then the phone rings and it's them. Or you're thinking of a certain animal or something, and then like a deer crosses in front of you, and it's just like, whoa. So no direct cause and effect, but meaningfully connected. A lot of people have come to understand the term and start to desire more information about it after seeing the documentary The Secret. And The Secret uses synchronicity and also uses what they call the law of attraction. And it gets kind of confusing to understand, but how I try to break it down when I talk to people about it is it's really about recognizing the power of emotion and thought. So it's an understanding that what we think, what we feel, actually has energy, and when we experience those thoughts and feelings, we actually manifest things in our own lives related to that. And so for many, synchronicity is really about the fact that we are the creators of our own world, of our lives, of the things that happen. This can be really difficult because there's a lot of times negative things happen and we feel victimized by it, or we have relationships that are really hurtful and we just can't imagine that we would ask for any of this. And I've decided to do kind of a series about synchronicity and break it down into subparts, because I think that though the concept is really kind of simplistic, it's really hard for us to wrap our logical brains around it. It's really difficult, and I see a lot of people kind of misusing it. I see some people with the mindset that it's almost like you're going to a restaurant and ordering, and all you have to do is just kind of write out what you want and send it out, and it's going to come that way. And synchronicity doesn't really work that way. It's connected to source, and it's really acknowledging that things can manifest. I've practiced it myself. I've seen it happen so many times with other people, but we are the generators of the things that happen, but it's not ego driven. It's not all about us having $1 million or all of this notoriety. It's really about serving the common good, and that includes us and everyone else. So sometimes our expectations of how things should look really complicate the process and actually derail it. So we can on one side be desiring something, and then we might have a belief system that contradicts it, and so we're just sort of feeding both sides of this process, and we get kind of stuck. So I know that's probably confusing for a lot of people, and what I usually encourage is it probably will take a lot of repetitive readings, videos to kind of hone one's practice and understanding of synchronicity. In many ways, it's complicated in the sense that you have to understand that your thoughts and your emotions create your reality, but at the same time, you have to let go. You have to let go of expectations. You have to let go of how you think things should look like, because those are disruptive to the process. So it's a hard thing for us. It's a hard thing in the 3D world to know kind of how to really master this. But when you have experiences with it, it's really profound. It's really exciting. It's fun for me to see when people start to practice and employ it, and the results that they get. The stronger you get at it, the quicker the manifestations, and really the more you start to realize like you just have to let go of this logical brain. It's really about being in your heart, really identifying how you feel and what you want, and focusing on that, not necessarily how you think it should look like, if that makes sense. So you know, if you're wanting a life and you see money or partnership is bringing you happiness and joy, then it's really focusing on the happiness and joy, not what you think should be in the bank account, not what the person should look like as far as a partner, because those really limit. And sometimes something might fall out of that container that you've built that's actually way better, but you just can't predict that. And because you have this mind expectation of how something is supposed to look, you reject the thing you're asking. So a lot of people get really frustrated with this process. Like I said, it's kind of simplistic, but it's really hard for us to really get a handle of what this really means and how to do it, and how to manage our more so, I think, our thought processes around it, because really, honestly, like every thought we have can impact it. Now, it doesn't mean that because you had a thought or a disbelief that immediately whatever you're wanting is not going to come. It's just a matter of learning to really sit in emotion, I think, learning how to manage the head talk and refocus. And so I hope this was helpful. Again, this is going to be like one video of many to come, where I just want to really break this concept down. It's something I do a lot in my work anyway. I always start at ground zero and build up. I don't assume anyone understands anything, and I really think it's a concept that's talked about a lot, but it's not necessarily taught. People just don't know how to do it. They think all they have to do is say, hey, I want $1 million tomorrow, and wake up and they check their bank and it's not there, and they're frustrated, because synchronicity sometimes does actually require that. We have to make change in what we're doing in some of our patterns, and if you're resistant to that, it's not going to work. So it's not just place an order and it's going to be Amazon delivered to your front door. It does require some things of you, and it really does need to be more of something that generates from the heart, and from your inner being, and not have it be ego driven. So I hope this was helpful. I will do and continue to do probably at least 3 to 4 more videos to come following this one. I know common topics that pop up with synchronicity is finding love, finding life purpose, money, and things like that. So I'm going to actually do separate videos on that and go into greater detail on where I see people get hung up in this process, and how to pivot, and how to start to practice this in your own life. And generally, if you're going to start this, it's actually much easier to start it with small things, not real meaningful things like money or relationships, but like something really small that you're not going to have a lot of expectation around, so you can kind of understand the process of surrendering that's needed in this for it to be really successful and for this to manifest in the way that you want. And synchronicity does not mean that you'll never experience negative emotion. It's actually a huge part of it. Negative emotion is what creates contrast. It's what helps us understand what we don't want. So it is part of it to experience that. You just don't want to stay stuck and reside in that. You want to use that to clarify your wants and needs, and then you pivot. And so, like I said, I plan to do some more videos in the hopes that it can help explain. This is something that took me a long time to really comprehend in my rational brain, and start to practice with, and it's fun. Like it's going to be helpful if you can approach this not with stress or angst, but kind of with playfulness. It will serve your purpose. So thank you again for your time. If you like this video, please like it. Feel free to subscribe, and have the greatest of days.